The Galactic Council Hall floated above a dying star, a vast ring of metal and light where hundreds of alien species gathered to discuss peace, war, and power. Their voices echoed through the chamber, filled with pride, arrogance, and fear. Among them stood the smallest delegation, the humans. They were newcomers to the stars, only a few decades into interstellar travel. To most of the galaxy, humanity was nothing special. A young species, from a blue planet at the edge of a forgotten spiral arm. They called themselves the people of Earth. The council called them children of dust. Ambassador Elias Kaur stood at the center of the hall, wearing a simple grey uniform with the Earth emblem on his shoulder, a blue sphere surrounded by stars. His voice was calm but steady. "We've come here in peace," he said. "But if your fleets continue attacking our colonies, we will defend ourselves." The hall filled with laughter, a harsh, cold sound. The insectoid Arcan delegate clicked his jaws mockingly. "Defend yourselves? Against the Union of 12? You have 3 fleets. We have 10,000. A tall crystalline being shimmering with light added coldly, "You should kneel, human. This galaxy has no patience for your kind." Elias stayed silent for a moment. Around him holograms flickered. Images of burning colonies, shattered stations, and human refugees floating in space. The Arcan fleets had attacked without warning, claiming Earth had no right to colonize outside its system. The Council had done nothing. They watched amused as humanity bled. Elias raised his head. "You think we are weak," he said quietly. "You think because our worlds are young we will beg for mercy. But you've made a mistake. You mistook kindness for fear." The laughter faded slightly. Even the council speaker leaned forward. "And what will you do, human? Throw stones at warships?" Elias met the alien's eyes. "No, we'll fight with fire. Fire from 1,000 worlds." He turned and walked away, leaving silence behind him. That was the day the galaxy laughed at Earth. The day they decided humanity was no threat. The day everything changed. Back on Earth, in the underground command bunkers of the Terran Defense Network, alarms were already sounding. Across dozens of human colonies, from Mars to Proxima Centauri, ships were being armed, engines were roaring, and soldiers were preparing for war. Humanity had no empire, no ancient fleet, but what they had was anger and unity. Captain Mira Solis stood aboard the battleship Resolute orbiting Earth. Her eyes reflected the planet below, blue and fragile, yet beautiful. She had heard the Council's response. They had laughed, just as everyone expected. But she also knew something the aliens didn't. Earth was not alone anymore. "Status?" she asked. "Fleet Command reports full readiness," her officer replied. "All planetary networks synced. Orbital defense cannons online. Project Emberlight is awaiting your command." Mira nodded. Project Emberlight, humanity's greatest secret. It wasn't a single weapon, but an idea. A hidden alliance of thousands of worlds that had once been oppressed by the Council's empires. Refugee species, exiled colonies, and outlaw engineers had joined the humans in silence. Together they had built something new, something powerful. The bridge trembled slightly as the fleet prepared for launch. Hundreds of ships rose from the planet's surface, engines glowing white. The people of Earth watched from cities and bunkers, holding their breath as their defenders took to the sky. In orbit, the massive Arcan Armada appeared like a dark storm. Hundreds of alien warships surrounded Earth, glowing with blue plasma. Their commander, High General Zeth, laughed over the open channel. "Surrender your homeworld, humans. We'll make your extinction painless." Mira's voice was calm. "You shouldn't have come here." The alien's laughter filled the speakers. "You think your little ships can stop us?" She smiled faintly. "Not stop. Burn." With a single word. Fire. The stars around Earth came alive. Dozens of hidden orbital cannons emerged from the moon's surface, firing golden beams that tore through the enemy lines. From behind Mars, human destroyers launched a storm of kinetic missiles ripping through alien armor. Even the old asteroid colonies turned into battle platforms, each one firing like a volcano of steel and light. The Arcan fleet screamed in chaos. Ships exploded, breaking apart like glass. Zeth shouted orders, but his fleet was already dying. Humanity's weapons were crude compared to the Council's, but they were relentless, furious and beautiful in their destruction. For the first time in galactic history, the Invincible trembled. The battle lasted only 17 minutes. When it ended, half the alien armada was gone. The rest fled, leaving behind wreckage and silence. On Earth, people cheered. In the council hall, no one laughed anymore. Captain Mira Solis stood on the bridge, watching the golden glow fade into the night sky. "They said we were no threat," she whispered. "Now they'll remember the day humanity answered." And far away in the cold corners of the galaxy, other species, oppressed, forgotten, broken, looked toward the blue world that had dared to fight back. Hope began to rise like dawn. Humanity had spoken in the only language the galaxy understood: fire. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Arcan Armada, undefeated for 200 years, had been destroyed by a single young species. Billions watched the recordings of the battle, human ships burning like meteors, their weapons tearing through alien steel. The Council called it a tragedy. The galaxy called it madness, but humanity called it the beginning. In the deep void beyond Saturn, the Resolute drifted among wreckage. Captain Mira Solis stood on the command deck, her face calm but her eyes fierce. The victory was real, but it came with a warning. Humanity had drawn first blood in a war they didn't start, but now they would have to finish it. "Captain," her officer said, turning from the console, "Council transmission incoming. It's from the speaker himself. Put it through." The hologram flickered to life. The speaker's form, tall, glowing, and made of crystalline light, appeared above the command table. His voice was cold. "Captain Solis, your people have committed a crime against the Council. The destruction of the Arcan fleet will not go unpunished. Surrender your weapons and perhaps your world will be spared." Mira didn't blink. "You call it a crime to defend ourselves? You attacked the Union's ships. They invaded our home." The speaker's light dimmed like a frown. "You are outnumbered, human, outgunned. You have no allies. This rebellion will end with your extinction." Mira leaned forward, her voice calm. "You're wrong about one thing. We're not alone anymore." Before the speaker could respond, the connection cut off. Moments later, a signal appeared on the sensors, hundreds of small ships emerging from deep space. They weren't human. Their designs were strange, mismatched, and old. The bridge filled with gasps as the ships identified themselves one by one. "Transmission from the Anuvati Resistance," the comms officer said. "They're hailing us." The screen lit up, showing an alien with grey skin and deep green eyes. "To the people of Earth," he said, "we saw your battle. We saw you fight when no one else dared. The Council burned our world long ago. If you will have us, we will fight beside you." Another signal followed, then another. The Cathari, the Voln, the Saran exiles, all those who had once suffered under the Council's control, were coming out of hiding. Humanity had awakened something ancient. Hope. Mira smiled. "Tell them they're welcome in the fire." In the following days, the stars around Seoul became alive with movement. Human engineers worked day and night, rebuilding the wreckage of the first battle into something stronger. The refugees brought new technology, energy shields, stealth systems, and warp field drives far beyond Earth's designs. Together, they built a fleet unlike any seen before. They called it the Coalition of the Free Worlds. But while humanity forged alliances, the Council was preparing for war. In the hidden depths of the galaxy's core, their supreme commander, Lord Zeth, the brother of the fallen Arcan general, stood before a holographic map of human space. His claws dug into the console as he spoke. "They think they can fight us," he growled. "They destroyed one fleet. We will send 50. Burn every human world, every colony, until their blue planet turns to ash." The Council approved his plan. Entire worlds began converting their industries to war production. Massive fleets assembled at the edge of the Orion Arm, forming a wall of destruction. The galaxy was preparing to erase Earth. Meanwhile, on the Resolute, Mira watched the stars from her cabin. She could feel the storm coming. The silence between systems felt heavier now, as if space itself held its breath. She opened a message from Ambassador Elias Kor, still on Earth. "The Council will strike soon. We've intercepted their signals. They mean to destroy us before our allies are ready. You must hold the line, Captain. If Earth falls, everything falls." She read it twice, then closed her eyes. Humanity had chosen this path the moment they refused to kneel. There was no turning back. The next morning, the fleet gathered above Earth. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all united under one banner. Human engineers had painted words across the hulls of their largest vessels. "No threat. they said. It became their war cry. When the enemy fleets finally arrived, they came in silence, thousands of ships blocking out the stars. The galaxy itself seemed to darken. Lord Zeth's voice echoed through every open channel. Earth will burn today. Remember this moment, humans. It is the last time you will see the stars. Mira stood on the bridge, calm and ready. All units, she said, lock weapons. Today we don't fight for one world. We fight for every world they've broken. The Resolute's engines flared. The fleet shifted formation, and as the enemy's first plasma beam crossed the void, humanity answered once again, not with fear, but with fire. The war had begun. The void between stars burned with war. Every sensor, every comm channel, every fleet in the Orion Arm lit up with the same signal. Earth was under attack. The Arken-led Council Armada had arrived in numbers beyond counting. 20,000 ships, carriers larger than cities, and dreadnoughts armed with planet-cracking beams. Against them, the newborn coalition of free worlds stood ready, barely 1,000 ships, patched together from every race that had suffered under the Council's rule, and at the center of it all floated the human flagship, resolute, her silver hull gleaming in the dark. Captain Mira Solis watched the enemy fill her tactical map. Red markers spread like a virus across the screen, but her voice remained steady. "Open the channel," she said. Her officer nodded. "All fleets linked, Captain." Mira's image appeared across hundreds of ships, human, alien, mechanical, all waiting, silent. She took a deep breath. "They said humanity was no threat," she began, her voice echoing through the comm. "They said we were too young, too weak, too small to matter. But look around you now. Every free being who ever dreamed of freedom stands beside us. Today we show them what it means to fight for life." Her eyes narrowed. "We don't bow. We burn." The channel cut, and in the next moment, the black of space erupted into chaos. Thousands of plasma bolts streaked across the void. Missile trails lit the dark like falling stars. The first wave of human destroyers moved fast, darting through enemy fire, striking hard, then vanishing into stealth fields. The smaller resistance ships followed, using hit-and-run tactics they had learned from centuries of surviving under Council rule. Still, the enemy's firepower was overwhelming. Dozens of coalition ships were torn apart in the first few minutes. The Resolute shook violently as a shockwave passed through it. "Shields holding at 60%, shouted the engineer. "Return fire, all batteries," Mira commanded. "Keep them away from Earth's orbit." From the surface below, humanity watched the skies glow red and gold. The battle could be seen even from cities, flashes like lightning storms across the heavens. Children pointed up at the sky while soldiers on the ground clenched their rifles, praying their fleets would hold. On the other side of the galaxy, Council Command listened in silence as the reports came in. Lord Zeth stood before the holographic table, his sharp eyes watching every engagement. "They're fighting harder than expected," one of his officers muttered. "They're dying all the same," Zeth growled. "Focus fire on their flagship." But the humans had prepared for that. As the massive Arkan dreadnoughts charged their main cannons, a signal pulsed from the Resolute. A coded phrase, the trigger for humanity's most dangerous secret. Project Emberlight, Phase 2. Moments later, wormhole signatures began to open all around the solar system. One after another, they shimmered like gateways of burning orange. Out of them poured fleets from every corner of human space, warships from Mars, carriers from Titan, orbital destroyers from Alpha Centauri, even mining ships refitted into mobile cannons. And they weren't alone. From the outer systems came the free world's reinforcements, the Navathi sky harvesters, the Cathari swarm fleets, and even rogue AI vessels that had chosen to fight for freedom. Each carried one message painted across their hulls in the same language. No threat, they said. The battlefield changed in an instant. Thousands of ships filled the stars, firing in synchronized patterns. Massive human railguns tore through Arkan armor, while the alien allies' energy beams sliced through shields like sunlight through glass. "Direct hit on enemy flagship," shouted Mira's weapons officer. "They're breaking formation." The bridge erupted in cheers, but Mira stayed focused. "Don't celebrate yet," she said. "They'll regroup," and regroup they did. From the far edge of the battlefield, enormous shapes appeared, Council Titans, city-sized dreadnoughts capable of wiping out moons. Their arrival darkened the stars themselves. The sensors screamed warnings as energy readings spiked to impossible levels. Mira's jaw tightened. All ships scatter. Evade, the Titans fired. A beam of pure destruction swept across space, vaporizing everything in its path. Half of the Coalition's second wave vanished in seconds. The blast hit the Resolute's flank, throwing Mira to the deck. Hull breach on deck 4. Casualties reported! Shields at 20%. Mira pulled herself up, blood running down her face. Patch it, reroute power. We're not done yet. Through the chaos, Ambassador Elias Cor's voice came through the comm. Captain, this is Earth Command. You have to hold. Emberlight Phase 3 is not ready. How long? She shouted over the alarms. 10 minutes. Mira looked at the battlefield, at the dying ships, the fire, the darkness closing in. 10 minutes might as well have been forever. Then we hold for 10 minutes, she said, gripping the railing. Tell every captain, this is where we make our stand. All across the fleet, human and alien voices answered together. For Earth. For freedom! And once more the void erupted in fire. The stars themselves seemed to shatter under the violence, but still the humans fought. Not because they expected to win, but because they refused to kneel. As the clock counted down, something deep within Earth's orbit began to glow. A rising pulse of light hidden beneath the planet's magnetic field. The Council didn't see it yet, but they would. Because in 10 minutes humanity's final answer would arrive, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars burned red. The battle over Earth had reached its breaking point. Wreckage drifted through the void. Broken ships, shattered hulls, silent beacons flickering in the dark. Thousands were dead. The Coalition fleet was on the edge of collapse. Captain Mira Solis stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her face pale, her uniform torn, but her voice still calm. Status? She asked. The officer struggled to reply over the noise of alarms. Shields gone. Engines running at 30%. We can't take another hit. Keep firing, Mira said. Every second counts. Outside the viewport, the Arcane Titans advanced. Colossal dreadnoughts glowing with cruel blue light. Each was as large as a continent, their weapons capable of destroying entire cities. The Council fleet moved behind them, confident that the end had come, and then the message arrived. Captain, the comm officer shouted. Signal from Earth Command, Emberlight is ready. Mira's heart skipped a beat. Patch it through. Ambassador Elias Cor appeared on the cracked holoscreen, his face illuminated by golden light. The air around him shimmered with energy. Captain, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. It's time. We're activating Project Emberlight. Every head on the bridge turned toward the main viewport. Below them, Earth's surface began to glow, not from fire or destruction, but from pure light. Rings of golden energy spread across the planet like ripples on water. In the deep layers of Earth's crust, hidden machines awakened, colossal reactors buried for decades, powered by the planet's core. Around the moon, ancient stations came online, each one sending pulses of energy into orbit. Mira stared in awe. It's beautiful, Elias's voice continued. Emberlight isn't a weapon, not in the way they think. It's a network, a fusion of every mind, every heart that believes in freedom. The energy it generates isn't just power. It's will. Will? Mira repeated. Human will, Elias said. The kind the galaxy has never seen. The golden light grew stronger, brighter, until it wrapped the entire planet in a glowing shield. When the Arcane Titans fired their massive cannons, the beams shattered against the light like waves crashing against stone. On board the enemy flagship, Lord Zeth watched in disbelief. Impossible, he hissed. No shield can withstand that level of energy. But the readings didn't lie. The human planet, small fragile Earth, was standing against the full power of the Council's armada. Then something extraordinary happened. The light spread. From Earth, beams of golden energy stretched across the solar system, connecting every human colony, every allied ship, every resistance base. The network linked billions of lives, human, alien, machine, into one unified field. Every being connected to it felt something stir within. Courage, memory, love, rage, hope. The Resolute systems flared to life, fully restored. Power readings soared beyond maximum. The crew stared at their consoles in disbelief. Captain, all systems back online. Weapon output tripled. Mira grinned. Then let's show them what Emberlight can do. She raised her hand. All ships, synchronized to the network. Target the Titans. The fleet responded as one. Golden lines of energy connected the ships like threads of light, moving in perfect harmony. When the first volley fired, it was not just metal or plasma. It was will made manifest. The beam struck the Arkan Titans head-on, cutting through their armor as if slicing through paper. One Titan exploded in a blinding flash. Then another. The Council's command formation began to fall apart. Lord Zeth roared in fury. All units retreat! Regroup beyond the outer ring. But it was too late. The humans were no longer fighting alone. They were fighting as one living force. On every world that received the signal, enslaved species rose up. Prison camps rioted. Factories turned against their masters. The galaxy's long nightmare was beginning to crack. Back on the Resolute, Mira watched the enemy break formation. Elias, she said over the comm, you did it. He smiled weakly. No, Captain. We did. The golden light began to fade slightly, stabilizing into a steady glow around the planet. For the first time since the war began, Earth was safe. But Mira knew it wasn't over. Elias's voice grew quiet. The Council won't stop. They'll regroup. They'll bring everything they have. I know, Mira said. Then we'll bring everything we are. Outside, the wreckage of the battle drifted silently through the starlight. Ships burned, planets shimmered, and the galaxy watched. From the ashes of destruction, a legend was born, the day humanity awakened the light of its soul and used it to fight back against the darkness. The Council had started the war, but now humanity was going to finish it. The stars were no longer silent. Across the galaxy, the fire of rebellion spread like a storm. The Council's fleets, once symbols of fear, were breaking apart, their control collapsing planet by planet. Everywhere, worlds that had been slaves for centuries were rising under a single banner. The banner of humanity and the coalition of free worlds. From the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Mira Solis watched the tactical map expand. Entire sectors were turning gold. Systems liberated, colonies freed, fleets defecting. Humanity's victory at Earth had changed everything. Captain, said her first officer, eyes wide as new data streamed across the screen. Reports from the Saran Expanse. The Council's regional command just surrendered. And the Cathari mines? They're ours. Mira allowed herself a small smile. Good. Every world we free is one less chain in the galaxy, but deep inside she knew it wasn't over. The Council still held its fortress world, Erithus Prime, the heart of its empire. Protected by energy barriers the size of continents and fleets that blotted out the stars, Erithus was where the Council ruled for millennia. As long as it stood, the galaxy would never be truly free. Set course for Erithus, Mira ordered. It ends where it began. The fleet jumped into warp. The journey to Erithus was like sailing through the ruins of a dying age. The coalition passed worlds scarred by war, cities turned to glass, oceans frozen by orbital bombardment. Everywhere they went, people watched from hiding, waiting for the golden ships of the new dawn. When they arrived at the edge of the Erithus system, even the bravest held their breath. The enemy fleet was enormous, tens of thousands of warships forming a wall of darkness around the planet. At the center of it all loomed the Council Citadel, a structure so massive it reached from surface to orbit, pulsing with blue energy. Lord Zeth's voice echoed through the open channels. So this is humanity's rebellion, he sneered. You think you can challenge eternity. You are nothing but fireflies against a storm. Mira stood tall on the bridge. Then let's see how long your storm lasts against the dawn. Emberlight network active, reported her engineer. All systems synced across the fleet. Then begin, Mira said. The void exploded with color. The first wave of human cruisers moved in fast, their railguns and plasma beams tearing through the Council's outer lines. Behind them came the free world fleets, each species adding their own firepower. The Envati energy lances sliced through shields, while Cathari swarm drones overwhelmed enemy frigates. Erithus's defenses fought back fiercely. Blue energy beams ripped across space, destroying ships by the dozens. The sky became a storm of debris and light. For every ship the coalition lost, another two took its place. On the planet below, the Council's great towers trembled under the bombardment. In the highest chamber of the Citadel, the surviving Council leaders watched in disbelief as their fleet began to crumble. This cannot be, cried one of them. "They are primitives! They were supposed to break!" "They didn't break," said another voice from the shadows. "They learned." Back in orbit, the Resolute pushed toward the planet's surface, leading the final assault. The Emberlight network pulsed across every ship, humanity's will burning bright. "Captain," the officer shouted, "we're being targeted by the planetary cannon." Mira's eyes narrowed. "Divert all power to forward shields." The cannon fired. A colossal beam of blue plasma hit the Resolute head-on, shaking it violently. Consoles exploded, smoke filled the bridge, alarms blared. But the ship held. The golden aura of Emberlight shimmered brighter, deflecting the impossible. "Return fire," Mira shouted. All weapons on that cannon. Dozens of beams, missiles, and kinetic slugs struck the planet's surface. The cannon cracked, then collapsed in an explosion that lit up the atmosphere. Lord Zeth's command ship moved to intercept. The two flagships faced each other, one a monument of cold arrogance, the other a symbol of human defiance. "This ends now, Captain," Zeth growled. "Your kind will kneel." Mira looked straight into the holographic projection. "We don't kneel. We stand, we fight, and we burn." The Resolute opened fire, all guns blazing. Zeth's ship returned the volley. The two giants collided in a storm of light and debris. For a moment, the entire battlefield froze, every ship watching as the two leaders fought, both refusing to yield. Finally, Mira gave the order. "Activate core overload. Direct it into Emberlight." Her engineer hesitated. "Captain, that'll destroy us." "Then we'll go together." The Resolute's reactor flared gold. The energy surged through the Emberlight network, linking every allied ship, multiplying its power 1,000-fold. The result was blinding. A single wave of golden energy erupted outward, passing through the enemy fleet like fire through paper. Council ships disintegrated, their armor melting into dust. Zeth's flagship shattered, his final scream echoing into silence. From orbit to surface, Erethus burned, not in destruction, but in rebirth. The citadel crumbled, its towers falling under the golden storm. And when the light faded, the once mighty Council of Worlds was gone. Hours later, the battered remnants of the Coalition fleet orbited the smoking world. The war was over. Mira stood on the bridge, staring at the peaceful planet below. "It's done," her officer whispered. She nodded, exhausted but proud. "No, it's begun. Now the galaxy must learn what freedom truly means." Her eyes turned toward the stars, once cold, now glowing faintly gold from the residual energy of Emberlight. For the first time in history, the galaxy was free. The war was over. The silence that followed was unlike any before. For centuries, the galaxy had known only the sound of domination, of fleets roaring and worlds burning. Now there was only peace, deep, fragile, and uncertain. Above the ruins of Erethus Prime, the flagship Resolute floated quietly. Its hull was scarred, engines flickering, but it still lived, just like the spirit of humanity itself. Captain Mira Solas stood by the window, watching the golden dust drift across the void. Those were the remains of a fallen empire, the ashes of a tyranny that had ruled for 1,000 years. Behind her, the bridge crew moved in silence. There were no cheers now, only quiet tears and tired smiles. They had won, but at a cost few could bear. "Status report," Mira said softly. "Fleet damage, 70%. Coalition losses heavy, but the Council fleet is gone, Captain," her officer replied. "They're truly gone." For a long moment no one spoke. Then Mira looked up at the stars, now shining faintly gold, reflecting the last echoes of the Emberlight network. "We did it," she whispered. "We made them remember us." Weeks passed. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Humanity had freed the stars. On once slave worlds, people painted the symbol of the golden sun, the mark of Earth's victory. In the deep colonies of the Invati, old songs returned. On the frozen moons of the Ketheri, children spoke of humans as legends, the ones who burned away the dark. In the Great Hall of Unity, where the Council once ruled with arrogance, now stood the first meeting of the Coalition Assembly. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered under one banner. Mira Solas stood at the center, representing the world that had started it all. "The galaxy owes you a debt beyond measure," said a tall alien delegate with luminous skin. "Humanity fought when no one else dared." Mira shook her head. "We didn't fight for power. We fought because someone had to. Because silence is worse than war. Her words echoed through the hall. For the first time in history, no one disagreed. But victory came with its ghosts. Many humans had not survived the final battle. Entire fleets had been lost in the golden fire. And even now, the energy of Emberlight, the force that had saved them, was fading from the stars. Some scientists warned it might never return again. One night, standing alone on the observation deck, Mira received a transmission. It was old, cracked with static. From Earth? "Captain Solace," the voice said, "this is United Earth Command. The people are watching. They see you, all of you. You've given us something we thought we lost long ago. Hope." Mira smiled faintly. "Tell them we're coming home soon," she whispered. But deep down she knew humanity had already gone beyond home. They were no longer just children of Earth. They were guardians of the galaxy's freedom. Years later, long after Mira was gone, the galaxy changed. The ruins of Arethus became a garden world. Its towers were rebuilt into learning halls. Its scars turned into lakes of light. The Resolute was placed in orbit, not as a weapon but as a monument. Every year, travelers from every species came to see it. They told stories of the humans, of how they rose from a small blue planet, how they faced empires older than time, and how they never gave up. They spoke of the day the stars turned gold, and how the universe itself seemed to tremble, not from fear but from awe. And somewhere, drifting between the constellations, the faint golden shimmer of Emberlight still glowed. It was said that when a new world cried out for freedom, that light would return, and humanity would answer once more. Centuries later, a small child on a distant colony pointed up at the night sky. "Mother," she asked, "what's that golden star?" Her mother smiled. "That's Earth," she said. "The world that made the stars remember what courage means." The child stared for a long time, her eyes wide with wonder. "Will they ever come back?" The mother looked at the star, brighter than all the rest, and whispered, "When they're needed most, they always do." The stars burned quietly, carrying the memory of a species that refused to kneel. And somewhere in the endless dark, a whisper echoed, not of fear, not of war, but of pride. No threat, they said. And yet humanity answered with fire from 1,000 worlds. The stars themselves remembered.